Hello, everyone. Steve and Cammy are here over at That's Comical, and we decided to do something a little bit different. In the fact that a lot of people are so hyped around the themes of comic books right now because of the fact that we just got the drop of James Gunn's new Superman movie trailer, I just said to myself, wouldn't it be nice if we kept that momentum going and just gave our viewers here a little taste of what's coming in 2025? So you've got the president and the executive vice president of That's Comical here for you guys this evening. And of course, Cammy, it's always a pleasure. I'm really looking forward to having this brief discussion with you and just having a good time.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here and I'm excited about this conversation. I love it when we just kind of talk about a lot of things that are fun.
Exactly. So let's get right to it because we are just going to give you guys a quick rundown of all of the things that are happening at That's Comical in 2025. And of course, before I get to that, I do want to say formally to you, Cammy, thank you very much for being such a supportive person on the team. You and Andy really stepped up your games this year. And of course, with the help of some of our very special guests like Lindsay, we had a very strong year this year. We had so many great recordings and so many great topics. I'm just really looking forward to what 2025 is going to bring.
Oh, I'm excited. Yeah, we had, I think, a really strong year in terms of how much we were able to accomplish in reading and how many different segments we were able to put together. And I think, moving forward, we touched on a lot of milestones this year, in terms of hitting big numerical marks on things from our childhood. But I think going into 25, I'm just excited to finally start talking about some of these things that have been sitting on our shelves that we know we're reading, but we just haven't had the platform or the forum or the time. So I think we're going to be able to squeeze in a heck of a lot more in 25 than we did in 24.
So I do want to let everybody know that we are going to show you guys a lot. Now, are we going to get to everything? I'm going to say let's hope, because look, we're not young 15-year-old up and coming YouTubers like a lot of the people that are out there. We're veterans at the game and we have families and we have other priorities to handle, but comic books is just something that we are really holding really near and dear to our hearts right now. And as far as I'm concerned, it's one of the few things that I look forward to in the week because it's just a great way for me to de-stress a little bit and really do a little bit of my own personal escaping, because I used to do that when I sat in front of a movie screen, and I don't really get to do that often right now. So this is another great outlet, and quite frankly, I think it's a better outlet as far as I'm concerned these days.
And it's funny that you say that because, for me, it used to be reading novels and I was reviewing books like crazy, but I have really deviated away from that so much because I'm having so much more fun. And I feel like my reading is just it's stronger on this side because not only am I reading things that I love, but I'm passionate about it, and it's invigorating passions within me that I forgot about. It's making reading fun again.
I agree with you. It's because, again, I actually read comic books so much now in the last 5 years, and this year I actually said, well, I've got to read some actual books. I still have some books on my shelves that I haven't read. So I'm glad to say that I did do some actual book reading, but it was only 3 books.
You may have actually beat me this year. I'd have to look back and tell you how many books I read. And I used to put them on Goodreads and do all the reviews and everything. I haven't even done that. It was just kind of like, okay, that was a good book. I think I did a lot more memoirs this year, and memoirs are just one of those happenstance things. You get through it and you're like, okay, that was good. It was something I wanted to do, but it's not something that really sticks with you. It was just like a check on the box. But in terms of very memorable books, I don't think I really had a great reading year. But when it comes to reading comics, oh, let's talk.
Oh, yes. So let's do that. So let's talk about what's coming in 2025. Of course, we're going to continue doing the things that work. Maybe we'll change them up a bit just to add a little spice into the mix, but we're definitely going to be doing our must-be-reads, including our must-be-read FOMO editions. I'm really excited about the first video that we're going to be recording in 2025. We're going to be talking about, as far as what I could tell, is the best comic book of 2024, and that is Patrick Horvath's Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. Cami, I'm so excited to finally talk about this book. And I'm also so glad that it's not just going to be you and me talking about this book. Andy
I
wants to
know.
join on this. April, God willing, is going to be able to join us. This is going to be a great conversation. I cannot wait.
Oh, I have been wanting to talk about this book for so long. I read it months and months ago, and I've read it more than once now that I think about it. And I love it so much. So I am so excited for that conversation.
Character profiles were a few and far between, but I am hoping that we could do a couple more of those. Cami, I don't necessarily think outside of the Batman one, or I don't even remember if you were even part of the Batman one. I know we celebrated Batman all year round, but I can't even recall who did what throughout this year because we just had so much to do.
That is not really ringing a bell. If I did, then I probably was there for Batman. You're absolutely right, but I don't recall doing anything outside of Batman and TMNT this year. So, if there were any other character, I know we had discussed doing several character profiles, but I hope we do revisit that because it is fun to kind of break down a character. I would love to do that with Lex Luthor.
Yeah, but we did that.
Oh, you did do that with Andy, right?
Yeah, and I think you were part of that one.
That's right. See, this is what happens when you get old, kids.
No, I definitely would love to try to do something special this year, um, specifically around the Fantastic Four, just because of the fact that the movie's coming out next year. Andy and I have been talking about some Fantastic Four stuff. Part of the Ultimate Journey is going to involve the Fantastic Four, and I just found out a piece of news that I never thought I'd ever hear in my life. There's going to be a 5-issue miniseries coming out from Marvel Comics, the company that I'm not really enjoying these days, about the Thing. And I just found out that Tony Fleeks from Feral and Stray Dogs is writing it.
Oh, that's going to be fantastic.
So I'm just like, okay, what is he going to do with a character like the Thing? So I'm going to check that title out. That would be interesting to do. And that would
That
be a great character profile too, because I personally am a big fan of the Thing.
I'm a big fan of Fleeks. I think his writing is phenomenal. So anything his name is on, I will definitely love to check out.
Yeah, and creators notes definitely want to do that. I think Cami and I actually sort of thought about doing this in our last recording that she was on. I think this year we will do a creators notes of Jack Kirby, but it will be a little bit more towards the summer. But one of the other things that I would love to try and do is you'll see what I'm trying to explain as we go a little further in the program. There are certain writers that we're going to be reading a lot of comics of. And I think if we could possibly rope one of them in or one of those artists in, that would really be a great creators notes to do. And Let's Chats, we didn't really do many of those last year either, but the ones that we did do were really good. I thought that, Cami, our 5-year look back was a really enjoyable conversation. And there are a lot of other conversations that we definitely can bring to the table. It's just a matter of just sitting down and thinking about what we want to talk about, and then we'll just take it from there. And then, you guys, I don't know if you enjoy it because I don't really get many comments. I do my stats, trends, and picks every month at the beginning of every month, recapping the last month. My favorite part is actually seeing, did I actually predict all of my number one picks correctly? That's always fun for me. But who knows? Maybe I'll turn that into a show where 3 of us or 4 of us are actually talking about our favorite reads and something like that. I don't know. But stats, trends, and picks is going to be there nonetheless. Another
I think
group.
that would be fun to combine that with the conversation. That's a good idea.
It was one of the few things that I started when I actually built That's Comical on my channel. My old friend Dan, we were talking about comics
Mhm.
every month, just talking about some of the things that were happening in the news, some of the things that we were reading, and our picks of the month. We started that, and then it just filtered. And I've been trying to find a way to possibly pick that back up, but it's just a matter of finding some time and having the energy for it, really.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, there were a lot of things that we did in regards to Off the Pages. There will definitely be more comic and anime, film, and TV show reviews. Thank goodness it seems that there is still going to be some life in the DC animated live show because there seems to be some more animated films coming from DC. One of the few things that I'm very excited about is going to be our first DC animated live show of 2025. We are going to be doing a Who Wore It Best of the Zack Snyder 2009 Watchmen film, and we're going to compare it to the recent 2-part animated film that came out from the DC original animated film library. I know that Cammie's excited about that.
Yeah.
I know that Andy wants to get in on that one. I just need to talk to you guys so you know exactly which version of the Watchmen film from Zack Snyder you need to pick up. Otherwise, it is not going to work. And there's going to be our annual recaps with my friend Gabby. She actually just contacted me the other day saying she is still on board for the MCU recap. I have officially offered her an opportunity to possibly do a DCU recap in 2026 because we're starting a brand new world of DC comic book films and shows that are connected to it. I mean, right now we've got James Gunn's Creature Commandos over on HBO Max, and if you guys aren't watching it, I highly recommend that you do because it is an extremely entertaining show. Very violent, but extremely entertaining. And of course, you know, with the Superman film and all the other stuff that's coming, the Lanterns TV show, there's definitely going to be some hopefully interesting things in the world of DC as well as Marvel. And the best part is, these are two entirely different atmospheres. So the conversations are going to be 100% different. But I think one of the other things that I'm personally excited about is the fact that Cammie and I are going to be doing a little project to extend the life of the DC animated live show. If in fact we do discover that we're not going to be getting that many more DC animated films, we decided that we wanted to take a look at the New 52 saga from the DC Universe Library, which started with the Flashpoint Paradox and ends with Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. That's a really great story. It's a great bunch of films, and I know exactly how to break them down and how to actually review them. So, Cammie, I'm excited to do this with you.
Oh, I love that. I love when we dump into it, and I love when we have a system of order and we can kind of just break it down, because I think that there's always an audience for people looking to say, where do I start? You know, how do I watch these? And you know, whether it's animation or, you know, we get into live action at some point, however it happens, it's going to be a great conversation.
And there's so many other who wore it best that we can use. I mean, unfortunately, it seems to me that DC seems to be the prominent voice in this. And that's just because of the fact that DC just does animated films and direct to DVD films better. Though I thought of a really great idea for a Who Wore It Best episode where we actually pit the third X-Men film, X-Men The Last Stand, with the X-Men Dark Phoenix film, because it's literally two different ways of telling the Dark Phoenix saga in the same X-Men cinematic universe. That would actually be a fun video to do. I think we should definitely give that one a shot.
I like it. That sounds fun.
Yeah, but I definitely want to do some really great things with the source material as well as the animated film counterparts. I mean, I would love to do a discussion of Who Wore It Best with All-Star Superman. I would love to do a Who Wore It Best of Superman Doomsday, the animated film, next to the two-part Death of Superman animated film.
That would be cool.
That would be a lot of fun, I think.
Definitely.
But I think one of the big questions is, guys, you've heard all of this stuff. It's basically the same old, same old. So what's new? Well, we've got some new stuff coming. And one of the few things that I am personally proud of is the fact that we started the Ultimate Journey. We're doing the Road to Blackest Night on the DC side, and we're doing the Road to the 2015 Secret Wars on the Marvel side. So much fun that Andy and I are having, and hoping that there will be some other people joining us in the future. Hint, hint. But, but I thought, and I have to thank Cammie for this, that it would be, rather than doing one too many must be reads, I thought maybe expanding the Ultimate Journey would be a lot more fun to do. Because if you're going to do an Ultimate Journey, you've got to really pick a very specific group of books or a group of stories that really do seem to be an epic tale. So the cool part is we're going to do one that's already been completed. I mean, there's rumors that it might continue, and if it does, I'm excited about that. But we'll go into that one first. One of the creators in the world of comics that we talked about a bunch of times in 2024, and actually a little bit in 2023, was Kurt Busiek. We talked about some of his best work. We talked about Superman's Secret Identity, and we talked about Marvels. But I had been mentioning from time to time that there's another masterful piece that he has done, and that is Astro City. I have gone to do the very best that I can to find all the Astro City books that he has done, and he's done them all. That's the coolest part. Everything that is called Astro City, he has written, and the same artist is on board with every Astro City book. So I've been reading them. Finally, it's about time. This really is masterful work from Kurt Busiek. The humanity put into it and the fact that it's a deconstruction of the superhero at the same time paying tribute to the golden age and silver age of superheroes in a modern twist. It's beautifully done. So we're going to do Entering Astro City. I don't know who's going to be joining me for this because, as far as I know, I'm the only one on the team that is already reading Astro City. But I also know that some people on the team want to read Astro City too. So I'll be able to guide everybody on how to read it, what order to read it in, and when we're going to discuss it. I'm hoping that Entering Astro City is something that does happen. If not in 2025, hopefully in 2026. But then we got two very special Ultimate Journeys because these are new books. These are new universes that have literally been created in the last year and a half. They are done by excellent writers in the business with excellent artwork. And we're really excited to finally be talking about these because I have been raving about these books. And I've been saying it all year. I really believe that the future of comics lies in the indie world. And I said that it was all going to lie on Todd McFarlane and his Spawn universe, Jeff Johns with his new Ghost Machine universe, and Robert Kirkman, the wonderkin of The Walking Dead and Invincible, and his brand new Energon universe. So welcome to the Energon universe. That's going to be one of our Ultimate Journeys, and that is going to involve all the three titles in the Energon universe. And that, of course, is Void Rivals, the original story, Transformers, and G.I. Joe. And I'm happy to announce that Cami is going to be joining me for this.
Yeah, I've been picking up those titles not knowing that there was a universe and this was all encompassing. So we had that conversation last week and I was like, oh, I've got those titles. Yes, let's do this. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm just excited because these have just been wonderful reads. The artwork on each and every one of them is stunning. I mean, a lot of people were a little bit skeptical about Transformers when Daniel Warren Johnson said that he wasn't going to be doing the artwork. And Jorge Corona joined him, and he hasn't skipped a beat. The book still looks beautiful. But I guess the big question is going to be what's going to happen to Transformers when Daniel Warren Johnson leaves the book after issue 25. That's the big news. Everybody knows that. But I don't think that this book is going to fail because Robert Kirkman, who is the main person behind the Energon universe, he's going to make it work. I can feel it. If it means he has to write the book himself, then so be it. He's already writing Void Rivals, and he's doing a great job with that one. Ghost Machine Universe is a book series that I personally am loving. Jeff Johns has been writing most of them. Peter Tomasi just started writing his, but you've got amazing artwork from people like Gary Frank and Jason Fabok and Francis Manipal, some of the most beautiful work that I have ever seen. And there's different groupings of comics in here. You can read the Unnamed Universe, which features Geiger and Redcoat and Junkyard Joe. You could read Family Odysseys, which is the Rockefellers and Hornsby and Halo. Or you could read the book series that I didn't even know I was going to adore, and that was Hyde Street. And wow, I am shocked by this modern take on The Twilight Zone by Jeff Johns. It's only 3 issues at this point in time, and my God, is it great. And I'm happy to say right now that Cami is somewhat going to start taking the wheel now because that leads into probably one of the most exciting parts of what's coming in 2025. And that is what I like to call Oh, the Horror. So Cami, what can you tell us?
Well, I'm excited because we're finally going to do some of the things that we're talking about. We're going to really get into my niche, which is the dark side of comics. There's just so many great horror comics that I would really love to bring to the table. But I think one of the ones that you and I are just so excited about is Ice Cream Man. That's one that you led me to, and we're going to just devour it. And I think that the way that we are bringing it to the table is going to be exciting. It's not going to be overwhelming because it is an older comic. So we're just going to be unpacking it and taking it, as we say, scoop by scoop.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's going to be exciting because we're literally going to take each issue because it's an anthology series. So not there are some connecting points, but each issue is its own animal and it can be interpreted each issue in so many different ways. And I'm just excited to see what your takes are going to be on them. And hopefully we can get other people to join us on that as well. I'm just really excited to finally talk about this book because it has been one of my favorite reads. And you have to remember, I was never a truly big horror fan. But when I read things like Ice Cream Man and I read things like Hyde Street, I am just shocked by how much horror I'm reading right now. And I think that horror in the pages of comic books is probably one of the best ways to get into your, if you really want to get into horror or if you just want a truly brilliant horror fix.
Well, and I think that's going to be the beauty of this transcendence for me and bringing more horror to the table is to show people that there is such a flexibility in horror because there is a common misunderstanding, and this comes from movies and books alike, in that horror is all of the same. You know, if you hear the title is horror, you assume that, oh, I've been there, done that, seen it, bought the t shirt. But horror has 30 subgenres. So if you are, into anything to include science fiction or psychological, there is bound to be a book for you, and there's now bound to be a comic book for you. Given that there's been so much attention to horror in comics in the last, I would say, probably 2 years, I have seen such an influx of horror in comics. It's going to be really exciting to kind of just see that play out. And I'm going to be really excited to bring some of those titles to the table for our audience.
And literally something that I just discovered this week just because I decided to pick up this new book. I had no idea that famed comic writer Garth Ennis had just officially launched a brand new label through Image Comics called The Ninth Circle. It is an anthology series of magazine sized comic books, one a month by a different writer and artist each time. None of them are exactly the same. And I just read this book called Freddy the Fix. And when I read it, I put it down and said, this was definitely an interesting book, but I don't really know how I think about it. I woke up this morning and it was all that I could think about because it truly left this impact and it resonated with me. And I was really surprised because I was expecting horror and I got a horror comedy. I was really impressed with it. And so I said to myself, I got to check out these other books. I got to see what these other writers and artists can do. So I'm excited to have an evening in the Ninth Circle with Cami once a month. That would just be so much fun.
No, yeah, we started talking about this right before we started recording, and I'm really super excited about it now because it's not only something that we're going to break down and look forward to with our audience, but it's something that we're going to build on the backside that I think that we are equally as excited about to revisit every month. It's just going to be a way to kind of make a show within a show, and that's why I'm loving this idea.
Yeah, and the other big discussion segment that we're going to be creating is something that Cami and I are super excited about, and it's called Flashback. We
Yes.
briefly touched upon this idea when we were talking about the Ninja Turtles, and it's the fact, particularly with Dynamite Comics, all of a sudden, Dynamite is grabbing all of these old cartoon show franchises from the 60s all the way to the 90s, and even some other companies like Mad Cave Studios are pulling these old names out of nowhere into the modern day comics. And I just said to Cami, we have to talk about some of these books, whether it's me and Cami, or Andy and Cami, or me and Andy, or other people. I mean, let's go through the laundry list again. Space Ghost, Dick Tracy, Oh my God. Powerpuff Girls, Thundercats, Silverhawks, Johnny Quest, so many great, you know, these names. And the ones that are coming out in 2025, Speed Racer's coming, The Phantom is coming. There's so many great nostalgic titles in comic books right now. But the most important thing is the comic books are very good.
And that's the beauty of it, because so often, we're up here yammering about our past and how great our childhood were and how many great things we were exposed to. But now you're seeing these writers who also experience these amazing childhoods relive our youth and bring it back to the pages in a fresh and innovative way. And it's making a way for the new generations, to not only understand what we've been yammering about all this time, but also to experience it for themselves. And it's a way for us, that have had it as a part of our existence for so long, to revisit it in such a fresh and new way. So the flashbacks is going to be so much fun. It is right up my alley, and I think it's going to have a lot of potential for amazing conversation.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm unfortunately going to be sad to say is, unfortunately, Cami, you may be on your own with TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures. I was,
Oh,
I was going to ask you because I know that you're not only reading those, but you're also reading the new Jason Aaron book. I mean, I haven't read issue 5 yet, so I have no idea if I'm going to continue this story. But I was wondering where Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fell. Was it part of Flashback? Or is it something completely different on its own?
so I think that the Jason Aaron and Nightcrawlers, those series definitely would be standalone on their own. But I think Saturday morning cartoons fits right back, or right into rather flashback, because I feel that the way I am experiencing the reads on that, other people are experiencing it, because when you step into those pages you feel like you've fallen right back into 1988. It's that feeling that you got the first time you heard the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme song in 1987. It just, the coloring is right on, the imaging is spot on, the storylines, you can actually hear the voices of the actors that you grew up loving. So I really do feel that Saturday morning cartoons falls into the flashback, but I think any other TMNT title should stand alone.
Makes more sense. And to cap this all off, I'm very happy to say that we do have some fresh faces coming to the channel. As I said, God willing, Gabby will be definitely showing up a couple more times. I don't know how more frequently in this year, but I'm very happy to say that my brother-in-law has been, I don't know if he's officially made his decision, but it sounds like he's officially on board for a certain couple of stories because he is very, very new to comic books. And he said to me, as much as I love talking about comic books with you, I don't think I have the vast amount of knowledge that you do. And that's when I said to him, what about all the new books? What about the fact that you're reading the Ghost Machine books and the fact that you're reading the Energon books? Why don't you want to talk about those with me? And he was like, oh, I could talk about those with you. And I said, and what about all of those classic cartoon books like Powerpuff Girls and Space Ghost? I'm like, I'm reading those. Are you? He's like, oh, I'm reading those too. So he might actually be coming to join us for a couple of those videos. It'll be really, really nice to have a new face with a new perspective, and more importantly, another positive and enthusiastic attitude towards all of this stuff. I hope it all works. That we just spoke about a lot of stuff, guys. I'm praying that it all works next year. That's all that I'm hoping for, because there's other stories that I've been talking to Cami about that we never actually discussed on the channel. We never discussed Stillwater. We never discussed the Sacrificers. Andy and I had been meaning to talk about We Only Find Them When They're Dead for years, along with Jeff Lemire's Bone Orchard mythos and Fish Flies and some of the other great work that we have gotten from Scotty Young, like Middle West. There's so many other great stories that I personally have read that I keep recommending to people. I mean, I'm hoping that we'll hear if there's ever going to be a sequel to Twig, because we already talked about Twig, and we're going to be talking about Feral a little bit more. We'll talk about Uncanny Valley. So many great titles from so many great creators that we never talked about yet, and we really need to get off the ground on that.
We'll find places. I mean, we always do. We'll get into these conversations where we're like, "Hey, I'm reading this," or "Hey, I just finished that." Can we find a segment for it, or can we fit it in, or just have a conversation of like titles? So I think we're going to be seeing a lot more content than we're even discussing here. It's just a matter of where can we fit it in, and that
Exactly.
goes with our personal lives too. Like you're saying, we've got day jobs and other responsibilities, but our our escape from reality is comics, and so we will fit it in where we can. We
Absolutely.
always make a way.
Well, considering how well we did this year, we clearly worked out a system that works for our liking and for our timing. And even when we have a big plan and one person unfortunately has to drop out, Cami always says the show must go on. You know what? It does, and it's still very successful.
Yeah, I mean, we've made a way to just kind of pull through the punches, and I can say I've had a lot going on this year too. But when I'm not able to show up, we've had some really great successes with other content creators in our family here to show up and have great discussions. So I think if we continue that mindset and making that's comical a priority in our lives, then we'll continue to make great content, not only for ourselves
100%.
but for an audience of that will hopefully communicate with us a little bit into the
Yeah,
new
I hope that that's going to be my hope for next year, seeing more people join the channel and more people actually say a couple of things to us. I
yeah,
think that
let's start
I
a
think
conversation.
yes, we always say that we want to do that with you. But in the meantime, everybody, that's what's coming. Really hope you're excited about it. We've been
I
working
am.
really, yeah, besides us, we've been working really hard. And the most important thing is we've been having fun. And the most important thing is if you like what you do, you're never going to work a day in your life. And reading a stack of comics is always something that I love to do. So, on that note, let's wish everybody a wonderful holiday season and a happy and healthy and safe new year. And we will see you in the next one.
Bye guys, can't wait.